the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, sir. Please come this way.
Good morning. If you would please introduce yourself and spell your name for us.
My name is Corporal Michael Gabo. Last name is spelled G-A-B-O-T.
Thank you.
And Corporal, how are you employed?
I'm employed with the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office.
And how long have you been working with the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office?
A little bit more than 14 years.
And your current position is what?
I'm a supervisor in District 4, which is our southern Hillsborough County area.
All right. Back in August of 2022, what was your position at that time?
I was a detective assigned to the HCSO Homicide Unit.
All right. And at that time, about how long had you been working with the Homicide Unit?
I believe at that point I'd been working with the Homicide Unit approximately 4 months.
All right. And now you're a corporal. Is that considered a promotion within the Sheriff's Office?
It is.
Okay. Now, as a homicide detective, what were your general duties at that time?
May I explain?
Sure.
So homicide detectives assigned to the homicide unit at the time that I was there had various duties. Those included death investigations of natural deaths, suicides, overdoses, homicides, kidnappings, and other violent crimes. Homicide lead investigators, those were people that were assigned to investigate actual murder investigations or homicides of any kinds. There are typically 3 roles in those sort of incidents. There's a lead investigator who's assigned by a supervisor to oversee an investigation. Their job is to draft affidavits, oversee and summarize the investigation for the attorneys, provide presentations, and conduct most of the interviews. There's an assistant detective whose job is to assist the lead detective. They're supposed to know as much of the case as they can in case something happens to the lead detective. They're incapacitated or unavailable. And then there's typically going to be a crime scene detective. The crime scene detective's role is to manage crime scenes for these types of incidents. So maybe there's 2 crime scenes. There may be 2 crime scene detectives. Any other roles outside of those are going to be ancillary duties assigned at various people within the division.
All right. Now, in the death of Shirley Bass, were you given any particular assignment?
I was assigned as the lead detective.
All right. When did you first receive the call about the shooting?
I believe I received the call on August 29th, 2022, sometime during the late evening.
All right. And what did you do upon receiving that call?
I ultimately responded to the area of the incident scene.
All right. Were you provided on your way there any information regarding the call or regarding anything like that?
In my initial receipt of the information for the call, regarding my response, I was informed that the shooting involved potentially an accidental shooting where 2 children were shot at a residence within our District 1 area, which is in the north part of Hillsborough County.
All right. Were you able to hear the 911 call?
I was.
All right. And did you hear that before you went to the scene or on your way to the scene?
I reviewed a 911 call as I responded to the scene, so prior to my arrival.
All right. What did you do when you got to the scene?
When I got to the scene, I met with my supervisor at the time, which was Corporal Florio, now Sergeant Florio, other detectives, and the deputies on scene, and I ultimately reviewed some body-worn camera.
All right. And do you recall whose body-worn camera you reviewed at the time?
Deputy Scott Rainey.
All right. Did you go into the apartment at that time?
I did not.
All right. What did you do next?
After reviewing the body-worn camera and receiving my assignment as a lead investigator, I responded to Tampa General Hospital.
And why did you go out to Tampa General Hospital?
I was informed that Shirley Bass was the...
Sustained.
Without telling us what you were informed, what was your purpose in going to the hospital versus staying at the scene?
I responded to the hospital to check on the victims.
Okay. When you got there, were you able to check on the victims?
I was.
All right. Who else were both victims there, or were they in separate hospitals?
Both victims were in the same hospital in separate rooms.
Okay. By the time you arrived there, was Shirley Bass pronounced deceased?
She was.
Okay. Was Jermaine Bass, the son, was he still alive at that point, obviously?
He was.
Okay. And what was his condition when you got there?
He was incapacitated in a hospital room.
Okay. Was he awake, coherent, anything like that?
He was not awake. He was alive. I could see an obvious wound to his head, but he was unresponsive.
Did you see anyone else there while you were there?
Yes, I interviewed the mother of the children, Shirley Bass, in the presence of her sister.
And how was she? What was her demeanor at that time?
She was. She had just been informed at the time that her child was deceased, that Shirley Bass was deceased, and she was very difficult. She was very difficult to interview. She was crying. She was in the process of what I determined to be grieving at that time.
All right. So what did you do next?
What did I do next from the hospital?
From the hospital, did you? Yeah, after the hospital, where did you go?
I responded back to the area of the incident scene.
Okay. And what did you do when you got back there?
At that point, there was a search warrant that had been authored for the residence. Detectives and crime scene investigators and other personnel from HCSO were inside of the residence. So I entered into the residence, met with personnel inside of there, received a brief walkthrough, and assisted with a search of a bedroom. All
right. And the search of which bedroom did you assist with?
It was the bedroom that was identified as belonging to the parents.
Now, the jurors that by this point have now seen plenty of pictures of the residence and know, so they're familiar with the room you're discussing. Can you tell us what you did as far as assisting in the search of that particular room?
Primarily, I assisted with a search of the closet.
Okay. Were you there when the drawers, the dresser drawer was searched, the silver dresser?
I was in the room when it was searched.
All right. And were you there when the firearm was recovered?
I was.
All right. And did you see them remove the firearm from the actual dresser?
I did.
When the firearm was removed, were you able to observe whether or not it was loaded with any bullets?
It was not loaded.
All right. Was the magazine within the firearm at the time that it was removed from the dresser?
I believe it was separate from the firearm. I don't recall specifically.
Were there any other live rounds within that magazine?
There were not.
What type of firearm was this?
It was a Glock 42 firearm.
And what type of bullets does the Glock 42 take?
It fires .380 auto caliber ammunition.
Is this a common type of firearm?
Relatively common, yes.
What type of firearm like this issued for the sheriff's office?
The sheriff's office has issued Glock 45 as the primary duty weapon, which fires 9mm.
Okay. Which one is a stronger caliber, or does it matter?
Relevance? Overruled.
So the 9mm and the .380 caliber use the similar size projectile. It's approximately a .357. But the 9mm has a larger case with more powder in it, and therefore it's a higher charge version of a .380.
Now, after searching the home, did you have any? What was your next involvement with the investigation?
I responded to the District 1 office where the defendant was.
Okay. Did you obtain a phone while you were at the residence?
I was informed that personnel at the scene, conducting the crime scene, handling a documentation and capture of evidence, did recover a phone.
Okay. Were you able to determine what the phone number was for that phone?
Yes, I was.
All right. And after obtaining that number, did you do anything with that information?
Yes. Detective Vertu, who was my assistant detective, completed an initial request for call detail records with the phone company, which was T-Mobile. And then later, ultimately, I completed a search warrant for a more detailed information related to that phone number.
Did you ever receive a return of those call detail records?
I did.
All right. I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 29, and ask you if you can look at that. Do you recognize those?
I do.
And are those in fact the call detail records you received as a result of your subpoena?
They are. It was from the search
Or
warrant.
from the search warrant? Judge, at this time I would move to have State's Exhibit number 29 admitted into evidence.
They'll be received.
All right. And do these phone records give you or indicate who the owner of the phone number is?
They do.
All right, and in this particular case, where it says subscriber named Jermaine Bass, is that in fact who the owner of that phone number is, based on their records?
Yes, it is.
All right. And the phone number we're discussing, is that it right there, 813-696-7195?
It is.
All right. What does the call detail record give you? What information does it tell you?
So a call detail record is a record provided by the phone company, which, because a phone company requires a lot of information to provide that customer service, when they have a connected phone, that phone oftentimes connects to a tower to complete the service call or the internet connection that's required to provide the service that the customer requests. So some of the information that's captured in a call detail record may be location data, it may be numbers called, whether that call was incoming or outgoing, the duration of the call, what type of call it was. For example, an SMS may be considered a part of a call detail record or a text message. An MMS or a picture message may be part of a call detail record, or an actual voice call may be a portion of a call detail record.
So it will give you indications of when phone calls are being made from that phone, as well as when they're being received?
Correct.
All right. And on when you get these records, on what timeline are they set?
They're set on UTC, which is universal time that's consistent across all time zones.
Okay. So what is our time in relation to UTC time, the Eastern Standard Time?
Depending on the time of year, we're either on Eastern Daylight Time or Eastern Standard Time. At the time of this incident, we were 4 hours behind UTC.
Okay. So the times that are printed out on this call detail record are 4 hours ahead of what our actual time is. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Okay. Now I'm going to direct your attention. Before I do that, Corporal, do you recall when the 911 call was received regarding this incident?
It was received on 8/29/2022 at 10:33 p.m.
10:33 p.m. Okay. Now I'd like to direct your attention to the very last line on this particular form. It indicates an outgoing call on August 30th of 2022 at 02:34:58. What time is that? Would that time be here in Tampa at that moment?
That would have been 8/29/2022 at 10:34 p.m. with 58 seconds.
So that would have been approximately 1 to 2 minutes after the 911 call was made in this case.
Objection meeting.
Sustained.
How long after the 911 call would that have been?
Sometime between 1 and 2 minutes after the initial 911 call.
All right. And what is that call, if you can tell the jury?
That is an outgoing call to phone number 813-516-3376.
All right. And that is an outgoing call, meaning someone made that call from that phone at that time.
That's correct.
Now, can you tell whether or not that phone was answered?
From the duration of the call being 5 seconds, even though the call says it's completed successfully, in my experience as an investigator, That typically means the call was not answered and it went to voicemail.
Okay. Were you able to determine who that phone number was that he was calling?
I was.
And whose number was that?
It was LaQuanza Thomas, who is Jermaine Bass, the defendant's mother.
Did you ever receive any video from the location?
Yes, there was video surveillance recorded from a residence that was sort of across the street from where the incident occurs. A residence, I believe, was 13937 Heritage Club Drive.
All right. And did your office, did the sheriff's office obtain that video, that surveillance video?
They did.
And did you notice anything of interest on those videos?
Yes, I did.
Okay. What did you see?
There's vehicles that are seen coming and leaving, or leaving and then returning to the area of the incident scene prior to the call, the 911 call being received, and those two vehicles are going to be determined to be Shirley Bass's vehicles. She owned both of them.
Okay. Okay, so you were, what two vehicles did she own?
She owned a Mercedes C300 and a Nissan Titan pickup. Both of them were white.
Sorry, Corporal, I got the wrong. And does this video show where those two vehicles were parked?
It does.
Okay. And you're able to see, and were you able to determine whether the time was accurate on the videos?
Through the other detectives, yes, I was.
Okay. And did you in fact learn that it was a minute behind?
Yes.
Sorry, I got the wrong record. All right, so I've now put in State's Exhibit number 6, which has already been admitted into evidence. And I'm going to go through some of these with you, some of these videos. So I'm going to start with the first video that is an MP4 file dated 9/1/2022 at 8:07 a.m. Now, if you could, I'm going to pause this real quick. I'm going to have you do this. If you could, Detective or Corporal, could you stand and show the jury so that they can see where the cars, the vehicles you are referring to are located? And if you can describe it so it's clear for the record.
They're going to be to the top right of the screen, and the white vehicle, the white pickup truck here is going to be Shirley Bass's Nissan Titan, and the vehicle just to the left or to the right of it, from the perspective of the vehicle, left of it on the screen, is going to be her white Mercedes C300.
Okay. And the time on this is August 29th of 2022, and it's at 6:05:48, which we now know is actually 6:06:48, correct?
That's correct.
All right. And what do you, in this particular video, is this where you observed them or observe her leave?
This is the video where we observed I observed the white Mercedes C300 leave.
Okay, we're going to move through this because it's somewhat lengthy, but we're going to kind of guide through it until we get to that location. So, Corporal, we did see on that video what appeared to be that Mercedes that you pointed out earlier pull away. Is that what you were notifying or explaining to the jury?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, so now let's go to the next one. No, I think we got it. Yeah, it's up there. I got it. All right. This one's hard because it's not an MP4 file, so be careful. I have trouble with it. All right, so now I put up the second one in the on the list, and this one is now at 18:56, which is in our term 6:56 p.m., but it's a minute behind, so it's actually 6:57 p.m. Correct?
Correct.
All right. And what are we looking at here around this time? What of relevance comes up in this particular video?
So in this video, in approximately 8 minutes, the Nissan Titan door is going to open and the vehicle is going to drive away.
All right, and that's the truck you were referring to earlier.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, so we just observed that Nissan truck, and that is at 19:04:30, correct?
That's correct.
So that would be 7:04:30 p.m., which we now know is 7:05:30 p.m.
That's correct.
All right. Detective, real quick, because we just kind of looked through that. You've watched that video before, correct?
I have.
Do you see anyone get into that in the passenger side of that vehicle?
Not that I can see from the video.
Are you in the third one? All right, we're going now down to the third video. This is Sorry, Judge, we're having some technical.
Okay. If you
We have it on our laptop. We can
go back to it and go open with and pick the program, sometimes it.
Look it up. What was it recorded under? Play. We want to be looking at actual evidence. What is this currently on? It was on PLC Media Player. What are these on? Okay. Judge Ms. Schlimmer and I approach you. Corporal, so we're going to connect the laptop. It's going to show the exact same thing, and we'll figure out why the disk isn't playing.
Oh, look, it's working.
So now it's working.
He cleaned it off and now it's working.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So now, Corporal, we are now at 22:10:08. What time is that? And like for people who are not on military time?
It's going to be 10:10 p.m. on the video.
Okay. And which we know now is 10:11 p.m.
Correct.
Okay. Detective, real quick, what do we see in this video before? Well, hold on, just go ahead.
Judge, I'm just going to object to the corporal narrating.
That's why I stopped. Now, Corporal, in this video, we see that truck that you had described earlier coming in. Was that the significance of this video?
It was.
And again, in watching that video, do you ever see any children or anyone get out of the passenger side or anyone else get out of the vehicle other than the driver?
Yeah, I would object to the corporal narrating the video.
Right, overruled.
I do not.
All right, I'm now going to the fourth one. That's labeled 8/30/2022, 9:09 a.m. All right, Corporal, what is the time on this particular video at this time?
It's going to be 10:18 p.m. with 34 seconds on August 29, 2022 on the video.
Okay. And what's the real time on that?
It's going to be 1 minute ahead of that approximately. So it's
10:19
10:19 and 34 seconds.
Okay, yeah, just leave it there away from here. Corporal, just for jury, where are we looking at here?
You're going to be looking just to the right of that Titan, to the left of it in the video, but to the right of it physically to the vehicle, which is where Shirley Bass's Mercedes is going to pull back in.
And Corporal, while this is playing, where is their front door in relation to where this video is?
It's just off camera to the right.
So somewhat behind that Nissan truck on the video?
Correct. It's in the video would be in the area behind the truck, sort of obstructed by the leaves of the tree.
Yeah, just leave it. Let it play through. Yeah, just keep going. Now we're going to the fifth one down the line. Now, what's the time on this one?
This is going to be 10:26 and 59 seconds on the video, or 10:27 approximately and 59 seconds in actual time on August 29th, 2022.
So this is approximately 5 or 6 minutes after we just saw the last video.
Compared to the last video, it's approximately 4 minutes at this time.
4 minutes, okay, thank you. So Detective, we've moved forward a little bit on the video. We're now at what would be 10:30, 37 seconds, or 10:31 in real time.
Correct.
Okay, thanks. Detective, it's now 10:33:10. We see an individual walk past. Did you ever identify who that individual was?
I did.
And who was that?
It was Shirley Bass.
And Corporal, while this is playing, where the individual you identified as Shirley Bass walked to, the individual known as Daquan Evans who called 911, does he live back in that location where she was walking towards?
Yes, he does.
Okay. And Corporal, we're at 10:34:06, and it appears she has something in her hand. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And it's up to her ear. That's at the phone.
Correct. It looks like she has it at one point, at some points out at her ear, and then at some points in her hand, and she's looking down at it.
What's the other one for? All right, we have one more. This is the last one. What time are we at here?
This is going to be 10:35 and 26 seconds on August 29th, 22nd on the video. However, it's approximately 1 minute later also, so approximately 10:36 p.m. and 26 seconds.
Corporal, we see an individual walking around out there. Were you able to identify who that was?
The person at the far end or the person closer to the tree?
Closer to the tree right there.
I'm not aware if that person was identified personally.
And what do you say the person at the far end?
There's a person walking around near the area where Shirley Bass's C300 is, and I believe that's Shirley Bass.
Okay. All right, Corporal, we are now at 2241 or 1041, which I guess would be 1042. What do we see happening here in the corner up there?
This is capturing the arrival of law enforcement, the first law enforcement officers who arrived at the incident scene.
And do we see the law enforcement interaction with Ms. Bass at that time?
We do.
Okay. Yeah, I just remembered. Great, thanks. All right, Corporal, you had reviewed those videos back when you obtained it, correct?
Correct. When the sheriff's office obtained the video, I was able to review it.
Okay. Now, the person you identified as Shirley Bass, how long would you say, or how long were you able to time how long it was when the Mercedes arrived to when she's observed walking out of the house and walking around in the parking lot?
Judge, just again, I'm going to object to the corporal narrating the video. It's a jury.
All right, overruled.
It's approximately 8 minutes.
Okay. So what did you do next in your investigation?
So I forget what our last discussion point was as far as where we were.
You had obtained these videos and observed the videos.
So after observing the videos, in addition to what we've discussed about search warrants, I conducted additional interviews with Shirley Bass.
Okay.
I obtained a search warrant for a buccal swab for the defendant.
All right. Did you learn where Miss Bass had been earlier in the evening?
I did.
And
Objection hearsay.
Not to that question. Overruled.
And based on the information you learned about where she had been, did you follow up on that investigation?
I did.
And were you able to confirm that she was at the location that was identified?
I did.
And did you speak to people who were at that location who were there when Ms. Bass was there?
I did.
All right. So where were you able to, the location that she went to, were you able to determine what that location was?
I did.
And what was that?
It was the Ruth's Chris Steakhouse in the West Shore area.
All right. Now, did you ever obtain video that showed the Nissan truck after it left and pulled out on that in the first video we saw, or second video? I'm sorry.
Yes, we did.
Okay. And did you obtain? What did you use to obtain video to show where that truck had gone?
It's going to be called our HCSO Law&Crime system. The Law&Crime system is a series of cameras strategically placed throughout the county. Some cameras on the Law&Crime system are just cameras. They just record a feed that is captured for a certain period of time in accordance with the law. However, some of those cameras include tag readers, so they're license plate readers or LPRs. Not all intersections include a license plate reader. However, in the District 1 area, in the direction that a vehicle would typically travel to get from the Bass residence at the time to the West Shore area, there were at least 3 sites, 3 intersections that included cameras.
Okay. I'm publishing now what's marked as State's Exhibit number 8 that's been admitted into evidence. The first video I'm going to show, it states Fletcher, North 15th Street, F-160, enter. What are we going to see in this video?
This is going to be, if the order is correct, as I recall, this is going to be a daytime video where the sun is out, and you're going to see the white Nissan Titan, which is clearly identifiable via it's lifted, it's got the black wheels, the features match Shirley Bass's vehicle, and it's going to be traveling westbound on Fletcher towards the Interstate 275.
So just to orient the jury, that was Fletcher Avenue that we're looking at?
That's correct.
Okay. And you see that truck going towards from the right of the screen to the left of the screen. Is that the westbound direction?
That is.
And that would be heading towards the interstate?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, I'm not sure if these are in the exact right order, so I'm going to play the next one. That says 15th Street pole. All right, Corporal, so once again, we observed that truck you described crossing through. Is this from that same intersection?
It's the same intersection, however, this camera is pointed north on 15th Street.
Okay. And so, again, the directionality of that truck on this would be heading west towards the interstate.
That's correct.
All right, I'm gonna save that one. Let's go to. All right, what are we looking at here?
I believe this is 22nd Street, which is to the east. So it is actually going to be slightly before, and it is also going to be the Nissan Titan traveling westbound.
All right, let me play it again. So just so for the jury, where is Fletcher Avenue on this?
Fletcher Avenue is the main road that's going from left to right, and then 22nd Street is the road that's going sort of, let me stand up. This is Fletcher Avenue going left to right, and this is 22nd Street.
And which direction is west for the jury?
West is this way towards the left.
Okay, I'm gonna replay that one since we didn't know that ahead of time. So. Sorry. All right. Go to the next one. All right, I'm going to pause this real quick. And what are we looking at here again?
This is just the same intersection, same time, just another camera also pointed northbound.
Okay.
Actually, I believe this camera may actually be pointed southbound.
All right, so I paused it at 22 seconds into this, or I'm sorry, 11 seconds into this video. We see a vehicle near the Exxon. Is that the vehicle in question that we're talking about, the Nissan truck?
It is, and I misspoke earlier, this camera is pointing northbound.
Okay. And so that Nissan truck would be heading in a westbound direction,
That's correct.
which would be towards the interstate.
That's correct. And this is before the prior video we saw from 15th Street, approximately 1 minute.
Okay. All right, now I'm going down to the one that says Fletcher, Nebraska. Oh, this didn't load properly. All right, it didn't load exactly properly, but what were we looking at in that video? And this is a video that says 9/2/2022 at 9:29 a.m. It says EOC Fletcher, Nebraska. I'll play it again, see if it loads right. No, for some reason it's not loading. Let me pause it right here, though. Where are we looking at from this video, from what you can see from that part of it?
This is the intersection of Fletcher Avenue and Nebraska Avenue. This is going to be west of 15th Street and even further west from 22nd Street. This is approximately one traffic light or intersection before the highway for Interstate 275. This camera is pointed south. Fletcher Avenue is the main road where that silver vehicle is now traveling east on, and the vehicle in question is going to be traveling west on Fletcher Avenue.
Okay, so it would be going on this video left to right on it, correct?
That's correct.
All right, we just saw it. Was that what we saw past, the Nissan truck?
That's correct.
All right. Now, those were from earlier in the day. Did they correspond and match the times that you recovered those videos from the time that that you observed the Nissan truck leaving the residence at Heritage Club?
The times that we see the vehicle on the Law&Crime cameras traveling westbound were consistent with the vehicle leaving from the Heritage Club apartment complex and traveling west towards Interstate 275.
All right. Did you obtain video from later in the day showing that vehicle coming in the opposite direction?
Yes, we did.
All right. Go back up. Not sure why this computer is giving us a hard time. Try and play it again. Not sure why it's not loading properly, but. All right, at that point in time, we just see a white Nissan truck go by. Is that the truck that you are identifying as being the defendant's?
It is.
Okay, and do you recall what time it was that this was taken from the poll camera?
This is 22, I believe, 11 hours, so 10:11 p.m.
Okay, and in this video, that truck is heading eastbound. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
And that would be back in the direction of where Heritage Club Apartments is?
That's correct.
And does that match up with the time that the truck is actually observed coming back into the apartment complex?
Yes. As part of my investigation, I conducted a query of an approximate timeline it would take to arrive from the intersections where we see the Nissan Titan during that date and that time and that approximate traffic pattern, and it was consistent with the arrival time that we see the Nissan arrive back to the apartment complex.
Finally, the last video, if it loads properly, we'll see. No. All right. right, well, I think the jury understands, and so they'll have this back to look at. After obtaining the call detail records, do you obtain are you able to learn or follow where that phone goes there throughout that evening?
As part of the receipt of the call detail records pursuant to the search warrant that I authored and was sent over to T-Mobile, I received some location data which was for the travel location approximate to the cell phone.
Okay, and where did, well, someone else will testify to that, but you, did it confirm that in fact, the vehicle, when the time the vehicle leaves, does it appear that the phone leaves as well?
I
That-
object to lack of predicate by the foundation.
Sustained.
Did you observe the map of the location data from where the phones were on that day?
I did.
Okay. And did you compare it with the video that you have of when that Nissan truck, Nissan Titan, leaves the residence?
I did.
Okay. And then with the location of travel, did the defendant's phone appear to match the location of travel of the Nissan Titan?
Same objection, Judge.
Sustained.
Did the phone in question, the defendant's phone that you obtained those CDR records from, did it appear to ping or be at location or near location of West Shore?
Same objection, lack of foundation.
Sustained.
Corporal, what did you do with the firearm that was obtained in this case?
That firearm was sent off to FDLE at the time of the initial investigation to FDLE for comparison to the shell casing recovered at the incident scene.
All right. And did you receive a report back on that?
I did.
All right. Did you submit any swabs to Florida Department of Law Enforcement?
We did. Yes, we did.
All right. And as the lead detective, you know what evidence is being submitted, what evidence is not being submitted, and so forth, correct?
That's correct.
And you can make the decision of what evidence to submit as well, correct?
That's correct.
And did you submit the swabs from the firearm?
Yes.
Okay. And did you obtain any information back from those swabs?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Based on that information, what did you do after that?
I completed, based on the conversation I had with the FDLE personnel responsible for overseeing that submission and the ultimate report, I completed a search warrant for Jermaine Bass, the defendant's DNA.
Okay. And did you submit that?
I did.
All right. And did you obtain a result back from that?
I did.
Based on the results you received from FDLE after the submission of the buccal swab of the defendant, Jermaine Bass, what did you do after that?
I made a determination that I should also write a search warrant for Shirley Bass's DNA.
All right. And did you submit that as well?
After receiving the DNA, I did submit that as well.
Okay. Did you receive a return from Florida Department of Law Enforcement regarding that submission?
I did.
What did you do based on the return from that submission?
I sought to obtain the DNA from Jermaine Bass, and I also submitted the DNA for Jayla Bass.
Okay.
Jermaine Bass, when I say Jermaine Bass, I mean Jermaine Bass, the victim in this case, often referred to as JJ.
And for JJ, when you obtained the buccal swab, did you in fact go there yourself personally and meet with JJ and obtain the buccal swab?
I did.
And explain to the jury real quick, how does a buccal swab work? How do you do it if you're obtaining it?
Once a court order is signed and I'm authorized to, HCSO is authorized to obtain the buccal swab, I will don a fresh pair of gloves, get my my actual swab, which is a buccal swab. It's sort of like a long Q-tip, if you will. I meet with the person who's providing the sample. I will take the swab, 2 swabs come in 1 pack. I will then insert the swab into that person's mouth, swab both of the sides of the inside of their mouth myself instead of having them do it. I will then package the swabs into their original packaging, impound them into evidence within an envelope.
Did you do anything else in this investigation?
There was an additional submission I submitted for the firearm recently, which went to our internal HCSO lab for the similar comparison that FDLA completed.
Anything else that you did that you recall?
Additional interviews and additional submissions, evidence impounds, and things of that nature, mostly administrative work.
All right. Did you ever obtain the defendant's phone? Oh, you did, correct?
I did.
You testified to that earlier. Were you able to download the phone and to review its contents?
The phone was downloaded, however, there was no data of, usable data on the download.
Okay. Judge, if I may have a moment?
Yes.
All right, Judge, I'll pass the witness at this time.